Okay, so trade deadline is come and gone. From what I can tell, there are a lot of Mets fans not happy right now. Obviously, some of that is just a carryover effect from frustrations about the team's performance this season, which puts us in this position in the first place. Not entirely sure what should even be expected as a return for some of these rental players we moved, and it will, take some time to see how any of the players develop. So, and whether they eventually come up through the system and help the Mets directly, or if they're moved again in separate deals in the offseason to acquire major league talent. It's all part of the business of baseball. In my estimation, at least we got something for players that would not be with the Mets after this season anyway. And this 2026 has been a lost season for some time now. However, not all the players we sent out are on expiring contracts. And I was against moving Brazaban and Weaver because they've been very effective this season. And I know they can help out in the bullpen again next season. With so many other areas in need of improvement on the team, the relief pitching has been one of the bright spots. And I would like to see that carry over into next season. With Brazaban, I can sort of understand moving him. He may have maxed out his trade value and his usefulness to the Mets. He is 36 years old, but also still under team control for 3 more years with a salary of around $1 million right now. He was traded to the White Sox for 2 prospects, pitchers Zach Franklin and Gabe Davis. And as I mentioned in my other videos, I was very much against moving Luke Weaver since he was having an excellent season in a setup type role and was also signed for $11 million next year. With the team expecting to compete next year, I thought it would leave the team in a position to do that in keeping Weaver and Devin Williams at the back end and building around that combo to fortify the relief corps. However, Weaver was traded to the Pirates with the Mets covering the rest of this year's salary plus basically half of next year's money increased in the prospect haul recovered in this trade, more or less buying a prospect. In this case, the return was Sammy Stafura, a 21-year-old shortstop playing for the Pirates High A team in Greensboro of the South Atlantic League. Now, I don't put very much time into looking at prospects. To me, they're like boom or bust until they actually step foot on a major league field and show how they perform against other major leaguers. I know there's an entire industry that follows this type of thing. I don't have that much free time to be able to look into all these guys. But however, I'll talk about this one more in depth here because as I mentioned, I was highly against moving Weaver, and the development of Stafura will ultimately determine my view on this move, which I felt was unnecessary. So, all right, looking at Stafura here, he was born in 2004 in Cortland, New York. He was the number 1 prospect out of New York State and drafted out of high school by Cincinnati Reds in the second round of the 2023 draft. Apparently, he's a huge Mets fan, so I question his sanity a bit. But nonetheless, it's a cool story to have a player being acquired by his favorite team.
Cool. So you grew up in New York. So I want to know, first off, Mets or Yankees fan?
And
Mets.
then Stafura,
okay.
Big time.
after being drafted, played 12 games for the Reds affiliate in the Arizona complex for the rest of 23. In 2024, he started in Arizona again, tore it up with a 1,000 OPS in 15 games, and then finished 24 for the Reds Florida State League team in Daytona with a 754 OPS over 350 at-bats while also playing shortstop. Coming into 2025, he repeated at Daytona, this time putting up a 800 OPS with 4 home runs in 89 games, and then was sent over to the Pirates in the trade for Ke'Bryan Hayes at last year's deadline. Stafura spent 2 games in A-ball there, then was promoted up to Greensboro, the Pirates' high A team in the South Atlantic League, to finish the season. Struggled a bit offensively there, although he was still only 20 years old, but he had decent defensive numbers at shortstop. On to 2026, Sammy started in A-ball in Bradenton for 5 games, then was moved back up to Greensboro. Seems like he struggled some, although he did have a 4-hit game in there, and then was out for 20 days. I would guess it was due to an injury. Came back with Bradenton on May 26th. After 8 games there, maybe like a rehab stint, he was sent back up to high A Greensboro. Finished June with a 971 OPS with 3 home runs in 15 games. And then when July came around, he just flipped the switch and went into beast mode. Over his 18 games in July, dude put up a 1.305 OPS with 14 home runs and 35 RBIs, moving him up the Pirates prospect list to as high as a number 9 ranking in the organization. All this while continuing to play solid defense at shortstop. Now part of the Mets organization. I'm assuming he'll be assigned to the high A affiliate in Brooklyn, which is also in the South Atlantic League and the same division as Greensboro is. We'll see if this power surge is real, and if so, he could be looking at a promotion to Double A at some point, even this season, or at worst case, begin next season there in Binghamton. From all reports, his defense at shortstop is legit, so he may be able to stick there. And I mean, if the power he's displayed is true, we could see him in Queens sometime in 2028 even. Obviously, with Francisco Lindor under contract for a couple more seasons, it doesn't seem like we have a need at shortstop, but with Lindor also about to turn 33, his time at peak athleticism is already running down, and we might have our next shortstop coming up through the ranks here. Obviously, with prospects, once again, we don't want to get too far ahead of things here. A lot could happen between now and then. We'll see how Stafura progresses through these higher levels. I'm sure he'll be in the top 10 of Mets prospects this year, and we also have Elian Pena coming up. If Stafura is able to reach the majors by 2029 or is able to be flipped into a major league ready piece, then I'll consider this trade a win for the Mets and definitely worth giving up Weaver during the rest of this lost season and then also paying for him to play on another team for another season. It's not what I wanted to happen, but I also didn't want the Mets to be sellers at this deadline. So, it's where we're at. Anyway, it's all for now, Mets fans. We'll be keeping an eye on how these players progress. I mean, Stearns needs some wins for himself here, big time, with these trades, and then the offseason, just the guy needs to get things going in the right direction. Any of these moves paying off will be a small step in that direction for the team's future, and really needs to get back into the fans' good graces. I mean, people are coming out with the pitchforks for this guy. some of it warranted because a lot of the moves haven't worked, whether they were good moves at the time or whatever the opinion may be on what he's done. It just hasn't worked out, and he needs to do better for us. All right, so hey, y'all take it easy. See you in the next one.